Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the old world. Hope you're all doing well, and today, my friends, are back with a Dwarfs Cathay showdown. It's going to be a Dwarven Slayer rush here in a tournament match, and I believe this was a later round tournament match, so certainly a competitive game. Now, looking at the Grand Cathay build, it has many of the things that are very good against dwarves. Crane Gunners, for the same reasons Skaven Jezzails are good against dwarves. They can just nail everything that the dwarves have from a distance. They can outrange their Corlers, their Thunders. They can even range the artillery relatively well on a map like this, so I really do like that pick normally. This is going to be Xiphos versus Alric Rawl here, but yeah, it's Crane Gunners en masse, backed up by some Jade Warriors. Jade Warriors will trade turbo effectively into Slayers. Their high armor and high melee defense will really just make the Slayers get stuck on them. For, Slayers cost, what, 300-400 more than Jade Warriors, so I do like that. Now, Fire Rain Rockets have always been very good against Dowie. It's pretty much the only way that the Empire has a glimmer of hope of actually defeating the Dwarves is spamming these type of units, so Grand Cathay taking a note out of their playbook. And double cannons, it really looks like the Cathay build is pretty heavily designed to try and deal with a Dwarven defensive position. Now, Dragon-Blooded Lord up in the sky, going to be coming in with Talons and Ancestral Warriors, and for the Dwarven King Alric Rawl here, it's going to be Dwarf Warriors, Great Weapons, as well as Slayers in the backfield, and it's just an all-out Dwarven rush, which is a super crazy tech, and to be completely honest, if I were in Cathay's position, I would never expect this in a million years. This is just super aggressive, so the Dwarves are just straight up going to be moving in, and Dwarves do have some good tools that can give them the advantage in the front line, and typically Dwarven infantry are going to be of better quality than Cathay infantry. That's one of the advantages they have. Cathay has magic, they have mobility, but Dwarves typically do have better quality troops, like pound for pound. And Dwarf Warrior Great Weapons are very cost effective. They will be able to defeat Jade Warriors. It just takes a long time, but they will get there eventually, which is quite nice. Now, Xiphos in the beginning, getting some really good DACA, Crane Gunner shooting out, and you can see the Dwarven armies getting ripped up. Immediately 600 value being accrued here for the forces of Grand Cathay. But the question is, are they going to be able to stop the onslaught once it gets there? I mean, yes, the dwarves are taking a little bit of a pounding. They're going to be down 1,000 value, but that's very typical. When you're playing against range factions, if you're a rush faction, you're going to be taking easily 800 to 1,500 value on the approach. But once you get there and your lines collide with theirs and your superior troops collide with theirs, that's when things start to get a little bit spicy for sure. Now, up in the sky, we do have the Dragon-Blooded Lord going to be descending down after the Dwarf Warriors here. Crane Gunner still getting good shots, so we do get some Jade Lancers coming out. I almost feel like I'm watching an Empire replay right now. Just that desperate moment where you're sending Empire Knights into Dwarven troops and it just doesn't work. But we'll have to see if Xiphos can hold. I mean, he is getting some unholy damage for sure. Almost up to 2,000 value. The Dwarven Slayer rush going to be coming around the flanks. And the problem is, there's nothing over here to stop these angry Slayers. Nothing. These bad boys got their Mohawks fully bristled, and they're going to be running in and pushing into the sides on these Grand Cannons. And it's going to get pretty spicy for sure. Some more Slayers, and yeah, what can Cathay summon here? I guess some Jades back here, Peasant Horsemen maybe to be sacrificed in, but once these Slayers get into the backfield, probably the best bet for Grand Cathay here would be unsummoning the artillery, most likely, just to try and get a little bit of value out of them and just not lose them directly. We do get some Jade Lancers coming in, but again, Jade Lancers aren't going to feel good here, and the Dragon-Blooded Lord does not want to be fighting Slayers either. So the dwarves have arrived, and the massive Slayer rush, baby, it's coming around the side. So here they come. Slayer's going to be running through the tree line, the artillery, not able to protect everything, and I can feel the stress for sure. Now, 3,000 value lead, pretty substantial, right? But I'm telling you guys, you just got to keep pushing sometimes, and you can get there. But we'll see if the dwarves can dig themselves out of the value pit here. Fire Rain Rocket trying to shoot the Slayers on the side, but every single rocket runs into the tree line here. And again, I think at this point, if you're Grand Cathay, you really got to unsummon these artillery pieces because, you could, what is that, 800, 800? You could be getting, 800 in total back for those two cannons and summoning some more Jade Warriors to try and, value trade more effectively. I think that's what you got to do at this point because now the Slayers are going to get on top of these and they are just going to give you a really, really hard time. Like I said, Dwarven infantry in the front, they're taking a hammering, but they will eventually outtrade the Cathay infantry. And we can see the Dwarf Warriors with Great Opens going to be surging onto the side, pushing into the Crane Gunners here as more and more Miners are coming out. Now, Miners are actually, oh my god, look at that salvo on those Crane Gunners. That was just nasty. Miners are a very good unit. The blasting charges, even though they don't technically, I don't think, have a ton of armor piercing, they still do okay against armor. And they themselves trade okay into Jade Warrior type troops. So Slayer's back here, and it almost feels like playing Undead. When you're playing Undead, Fellbats and Scurvy Dogs and things like that, it's a really rough feeling knowing you can't get them off. You have to, just crumble them down to ashes before they're going to get off your equipment. And it almost feels the same way here with the Dwarven Slayers in the backfield, really causing massive havoc. And look at the value. Alric Rawl has caught up super hard, and the Grand Cathay army here is going to be stuffed pretty badly into the back. More and more Slayers just circumventing the side flanks and just pushing in, and Jade Warrior crossbows are trying to come out, and in theory, they're very good against Slayers. Pretty much a hard counter to Slayers, but if the Slayers can get on top of them, there's not much they're going to be able to do as these Slayers continue to chase the cannon crews, and now they're going to be looking to satisfy the grudge. They did something wrong in life, they got some shame, they got to get out of their system here, so these Slayers are going to be moving in. That's basically the lore of Slayers in a nutshell. So Here they come, back onto the Jade Warrior crossbows. Big karate chops coming in. The mighty Dowie are resurgent, so we'll see what they can do here. And the Jade Warrior crossbowmen are taking heavy casualties, although they might be able to win. You do have 24 weapon strength, and there's only a couple Slayers left. We'll have to see how that trades out. But honestly, looking at the game, the Dwarves do have a triple cap here. Ulrich Rahl looks like he's kind of got a commanding position. I don't see Cathay digging their way out of this one. You know, all of Cathay's armor-piercing options were tied up in the artillery and the crane gunners, and the Jades were just there for holding, basically. And now that all the AP is gone, Jade Warrior halberds aren't a terrible option against Dwarves. Their armor makes them somewhat resilient against the miners, but in reality, I think, again, using the Jezzails and the artillery is the way to really kill Dwarf infantry. You know what would have actually been okay here, maybe? Terracotta Sentinel probably would have sucked too against Slayers. That's actually kind of an interesting one. Like, this is a very map-dependent build. It says very good for Rush, because you can get there super quickly, and even if you're, playing a slow faction like Dwarves, your reinforcements are going to be getting there very fast, because the map is just small. But I don't think a build like this would have worked on, like, a Black Ark. I think, Xiphos would have had time to react, get his forces together, and probably summon enough reinforcements, and get even more value on the approach than he already did here, which was insane, right? So again, maps really are a big determining factor in terms of domination. Like, maps can determine matchups. Like, there's some matchups where, for example, they might be bad on that map versus this faction, but if you switch the map, suddenly they have a very good chance or might even be favored. And it's one of the things I like about Dom. It's kind of like prevalent in other RTS games as well. Like, if you look at Age of Empires, there were certain maps where, like, the Rus were very good, and there are certain maps where the English are very good if they can, like, turtle and just force you into a lane fight. It's something that I think is really interesting and really adds a lot of spice to the game mode. But looking here, you can see in the backfield the old Jade Warrior crossbow. Celestial Dragon Guard, oh, I don't hate that. I don't hate the Celestial Dragon Guard. I feel like they have pretty good stats and high numbers, but I think it's a little bit too late. Like, pushing Dwarves, like, if the Dwarves have you stuffed in your deployment zone, you know something has gone really, really south here. Xiphos going to be dropping some sort of a Vortex, but again, looks like he's pretty heavily triple capped here. Ekron's Miners doing their thing, and the dreaded Miners with Blasting Charges going to be hustling around the side, going after these Jade crossbows. And I have to say, man, this is a really cool tech by Ulrich. And look at this. He's got gyrocopters with the brimstone guns here in the fourth quarter. And, like, mostly, there's not going to be any shooting from Cathay at this point that has armor piercing. I mean, Iron Hails won't be able to close the distance. Gyrocopters actually outrange them. So with very good micro, you can actually avoid those pretty much, nonstop. But they're going to be trying to snipe the Lord here, the Dragon-Blooded Lord. It looks like, getting a little bit of work in on that character. So Miners with Blasting Charges are up. Dwarves are defending the objectives, although there are some crane gunners here. It looks like Xiphos able to get some of those back, so he might be able to hold. But Ulrich Rahl now has a 2,000 value lead, and this game is basically over. We can do a little bit of fast forwarding. Obviously, when you're in the heat of a tournament match like this, sometimes players will keep playing, thinking they have a chance, myself included. There's many games where I've, like, decisively lost or won, and, my opponent or myself will just keep playing until the bitter end. And it's very easy to lose track of things, thinking that you can get back. But dude, that Dwarven build was such a good tech against, like, crane gunners and cannons. Oh my god. Like, if the Dwarves had gone with their own missiles, like Quarrelers, Thunders, and tried to approach in that way, interesting stuff. I gotta look into the mod here. It looks like it's not displaying everything, but we will take a look. Like, if the Dwarves had come in with all these, different range tools, they would have lost 100%. Like, crane gunners counter all the Dwarven range. Like, if these had been Quarrelers and Thunders, it's game over. Cathay wins. But that Rush dude was just aggressive. He even didn't bring a Lord so he could get an even wider army. I mean, the Lord was in the side army, of course. It looks like he got summoned in and maybe died. I'm not sure, but yeah, crazy stuff. GG, well played. Yeah, it looks like the mod is having a little bit of trouble. So still, great game. Really fun stuff. You guys got to see the armies. You get the gist of it, but I will look into that. Maybe it needs to be updated, but GG, well played. See you guys next time. Take care of yourselves. And that is going to be it for today.